Let's get scratching.
And hello, my name is Adam, and welcome to another episode of the KashCast, an interview-focused podcast where I talk to creatives across and beyond the animation industry. In this episode, I have with me Gary Trimarchi. Gary's a writer for animation and manages Wayback Studios, which has existing indie series Failing Upward, and his current indie project is currently getting crowdfunded, Starstruck. Starstruck is an indie animatic pilot following the ever-hopeful Harper Hideki, working as the PA for the famous alien rock star Azrael Phaser, but longing to become a musician in her own right. With her cynical tour ship Bessie Court Voxel on her side, Harper just might be able to stay afloat, if nothing else gets in her way. It's been a while since we've last spoke, so it's great to catch up again. Gary, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Just happy to be here with you right now. Let me make sure my thing is recording. Yes, I am recording. Awesome, wonderful. Okay.
No problem.
I'm doing great. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah. So, for anyone who's been a long time listener to the KashCast, it's been a while. You're actually one of our, well, not our. I think you might be one of our first returning guests. So since it's been a while. So how have things been for you in general?
They've been okay. We've been doing more Failing Upward, which has been awesome. We put out 2 more episodes since I think we last talked, which has been really cool. The last episode we did, the OK Nightmare one, did pretty well on Newgrounds. We got feature of the day. Oh no, not for that one specifically.
Congrats.
I think we were in top 5 that day. I remember the first 2 when we started uploading to Newgrounds since we talked. So the first 2 got both got feature of the day, and then OK Nightmare was in top 5. But then also we started using TikTok as well. So we started posting clips to TikTok, and we had a clip from OK Nightmare kind of blow up on there for a little bit. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
More people saw it. Yeah, no, it was so cool. More people saw that than a lot of things that we had done up until that point. So that was really cool to kind of get recognition for something, even if it was just the little clip.
Yeah. And well, since you so do you find any difficulties marketing indie animation with the short form video format, or has it been okay on TikTok?
I think we kind of it depends on purely arbitrary things when you post on TikTok. Usually it's the hour of day you're posting. But I do find that when we post specifically things that have bands that people like in them, kind of clips that have backing bands that people like in them, they do pretty well, which is awesome because that is part of the appeal of the show, is that we're kind of using music that I like in the background. So that's always nice to kind of have your taste, validated, I suppose. So that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
No worries.
But other than that, it's just it's just purely arbitrary things, and sometimes we get lucky, and sometimes you have to take it down and repost another day. So I'm never too bothered if something doesn't do too well on TikTok or other kind of short form places. Because usually it just takes a while for it to kind of latch on.
Yeah. And, well, regarding Newgrounds specifically, what have your experiences been on that? I know specifically with Punch Forever, but probably others, there definitely feels there's been a resurgence, people returning to that as a platform for animation. So what have your experiences been for that?
I'd say mostly positive. I was really nervous about posting on Newgrounds initially, specifically because I kind of came from the era where it was a little more brutal in the comments. I think people have since chilled out a little bit, and every now and then you'll get a comment that's a little less than gracious or not or a little less than polite, I suppose. But those are really the outlier. Those are really the outliers at this point. Most people on Newgrounds are really nice, and they just want to see you get better at animation. They want to support you, which is something that is not necessarily present on YouTube. I feel like YouTube, which listen, I love subscribers anywhere. Everyone's been super supportive of when we posted, but I feel like it's been a little more helpfully analytical on Newgrounds, specifically just because that is such an animation-driven website and people want to see you get better. They want to see you improve not only animation but your storytelling and your craft. So it's been really nice to kind of get those kinds of comments, as opposed to posting on any other website and being like, this is cool, bye. Like it's which, I mean, listen, those are great. Bring me more of those too. Those are really cool. But like, I really enjoy the ones that are like, hey, this was really great. I would do this in the next episode. Like maybe just like do this differently. Like I like more analytical comments like that because they keep me on my toes and they kind of bring me, they give me things to bring my team and help them out with in terms of just like doing the next episode. So that's been really nice with Newgrounds. And I don't know. I wish more people would kind of go back to it. I think while there is a lot of like traffic, a lot more traffic there than there has been in the last 10 or so years, mostly due to Zach Hadel, Michael Cusack having Smiling Friends, as well as Punch Punch Explode, Punch Punch. I totally blank on the name sometimes. It is like, I love that show, but like sometimes I'll blank on the name. I almost said Punch Punch Explosion like it was the Cartoon Network game. Or Punch Time Explosion. No, but yeah, exactly. No, I think Speedoru is like incredible. I think everything he's done with that show has been really, really good, and like gag a second type stuff, which in a show like that is really fun. It harkens back to the early days of internet animation while still keeping a lot of the refinement of what we can do now with technology and everything. I think it's just been like a really really good series to watch grow. Honestly, I've had a really good time with it. But specifically with Newgrounds, I see more people coming to it. I just want even more people to come now. It's just been a matter of kind of, like it does have that history of being a little brutal in the comments, and I think some people, including myself, had to get over that hill. And once I did, I was like, oh my gosh, what an amazing website. In terms of just like community and everything. So it's been really cool on there. Yeah, no, I even forgot what your question was, but yeah, I'm just having a great time on Newgrounds.
No worries. You did answer the question. And yeah, admittedly, I have to dust that off myself. I think for me, it's more so I've been focusing more on illustration, but I've got a couple of ideas that I really should actually, not literally kickstart, but like actually getting to exist. And yeah, like I'm really happy specifically for Punch Punch Forever just exploding in popularity. I don't know if anyone else has made this comparison, but to me it feels like the closest thing to like sort of spiritual successor to like OKKO. Not so much on a surface level, but just because it's like you had mentioned earlier, it's very rooted in its influences, but still like innovating in like, modern conveniences of like modern indie animation, and it's just passionate in general.
Yeah, and like what I had said, like I think where I was coming at it from more was like it has the sensibilities of kind of earlier, maybe not earlier, but maybe like kind of like mid-age Newgrounds, that 2008 to 2011 aesthetic. But it's done in a way that's way more refined, and I really like that. And you mentioned OKKO, which is absolutely I would point to as kind of like a successor, that being a successor too. But like also Ballmasters, I feel like it has a lot in common with that too.
Oh yeah.
So I like it on that front as well. Yeah, no, it's just a really cool show, and I wish nothing but the best for Speedoru. I think he's got something really special, and I hope he continues to give us more stuff. Yeah.
But I think, and this is my final tangent, but like another reason why I'm so appreciative about that, specifically that project, I remember, I think it was some post somewhere, either on Twitter or Blue Sky, where Speederwood actually went and explained how we got like a very realistic looking VHS filter, and that's come in handy on my projects like multiple times. And the tool that he used, I think was called NTSC-QT, has only gotten like easier, because like before it was like a program you had to like toss in your like pre-rendered video in. Now it's just a plugin you can throw into After Effects or Vegas.
Premiere.
Like, yeah. Do they still call it Vegas?
I don't know. I use Premiere, and I know Adobe also has After Effects, but no, I'm not sure. I use Red Giant for my VHS effects, and I think I might be switching over to that next, just because like the Red Giant thing, it's just always like I always use like the trial of it. Like they kind of let you reuse the trial after a year or two, which I'll always take advantage of. But more so, I just like, while I love the Red Giant filter, I do feel like it kind of it messes up the colors in a very appropriate way, but I'm not always a fan of necessarily how everything looks in the end. It's just been the one that's been the easiest to use for me, because all I've had to do is kind of drag it onto a clip and be done with it. But it sounds like if there's a plugin like this one you're mentioning, like I might have to switch over to that, because his VHS effects are, it's perfect. And like, yeah, I think that whole aesthetic of Punch Forever is really cool. I'm a big fan of that, as I'm sure anybody who's seen the promos for Failing Upward knows. I love that kind of VHS aesthetic.
Yeah, in terms of like actually editing your promos as if like there's stuff that'll be like airing on a channel, I think that vibe you nail. And I'm coming from someone who has also edited like 2000 style commercials for some of my own projects, so big ups to you on that.
Oh, thank you.
No prob. Now, as someone who has been involved in creating animation for a while, what have you learned that's made you into like a stronger writer or just creative in general?
As somebody who's been doing it for a while, I guess kind of putting something out and seeing how people react to it, like kind of like I was talking about on Newgrounds. Like I just think, while no one has necessarily commented specifically about the writing, they have kind of talked about like how we structure things when we're displaying them in the episode, and it has made me more like acutely aware of just like giving my characters a little bit more like more personality quirks and stuff like that, just to kind of make them stand out, be unique, not have them necessarily be complete extensions of myself, which is I think that is what I like doing, but like I think just kind of making stuff more personal, like, and I think as I've kind of gone on with more and more stuff, like that's been my goal, is to make everything a little more personal, make it a little more give it a little more just like of a more niche touch, just consistently make my voice heard, in ways that are more just making characters talk like me. Like, I think there's just everything from presentation to dialogue. Well, obviously it's kind of going with what I just said, but like I would other than dialogue, I would say presentation and vibe and tone, story arcs and stuff like that. I feel like just putting a little more of myself into those rather than just the characters. I think, and not being afraid to kind of fail in that way, where it's just like, hey, if something doesn't work out, like if it doesn't catch on, that's fine. At least I tried. I feel like Newgrounds has made me a little more unafraid to try different things. So like, we were kind of, for this next episode of Failing Upward, we were kind of going back and forth on whether we wanted to include another kind of like a mixed media segment, and it's still sort of there, but we kind of got it into a different place where like we're like, okay, well, this is not the same kind of animation as the show, but it's not the live action from the Okay Nightmare episode, which was also like that was like a big step for me too, because that was just like, oh man, like this I like this, like I like using the public domain movie, in this scene, but I don't know if other people are gonna like it. And
Right.
I think most people thought it was cool from what I could kind of gather. But like, kind of going over to this next one, like do we want to do that same trick again, or do we want to do something different? And I feel like we ended up doing something different for a variety of reasons. One of which I think was just because, like, in the end, I didn't want to repeat myself, but also like it was just like a convenience thing of just like, oh, we're not going to be able to film this. So
Yeah.
it kind of got that way too. But I think in my time in animation, I would say like stepping out of my comfort zone has kind of like been like a big thing, or stepping out, but also being more comfortable with expressing things I like within my show.
Yeah, and I could definitely respect that, Like, Failing Upward especially is just a project that I only, like, associate with you. Not just because you created it, obviously, but because that's, like, your voice that you're putting into it, so. And, let's see. Oh, so, just to slowly transition to today's subject, have your experiences like working on Failing Upward helped you when, just being more prepared for when you're starting to work on Starstruck?
Sure. Sorry about that. You just cut out for a second before. So now I got that. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, no, I think specifically working on this, on Failing Upward for a couple years now, like it's totally helped me like assess like the kind of crew and budget I would definitely need for something like Starstruck.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was definitely a big thing for me, whereas like the kind of going through the process of making one show and then seeing what I would need for another one. And yeah, I think that has helped a lot. So yeah, I would say just I know it's a really generic answer, but kind of just going through the process of making a show in general. Like you understand all the pitfalls in the end, and like I think you kind of realize like, oh well, I could have used someone to do this or someone to do that, and that helped me ascertain not ascertain. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. It helped me assess, I guess, what I needed for another a new show, specifically with Starstruck.
And in terms of the crew that you were able to assemble, range from designers, voice actors, etc., how were you able to actually get in contact with them?
That's a really good question, because that was something also like that was completely done like a little bit like on a whim. Like I literally, honestly, just posted on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, I'm doing a new show. It's dependent on a Kickstarter. Would anybody like to do this? And then I proceeded to do 2 or 3 weeks of interviews with people. And I kind of came down with a crew of like 6 or 7 people to do this animatic. And yeah, it sounds a lot easier than it actually was, but it was a lot of work in terms of just like the interviews themselves were kind of like I had to be very concise with what I wanted out of the show, and see who matched up with that vision, see who was best to do what for each thing.
Right.
So like, and I know that sounds kind of like duh when you're doing interviews, but like it was kind of eye-opening to me, because like I feel like in the past I would have just been like, hey, I'll get my, we'll do this with friends or whatever, and we had tried to do that, but I feel like with friends it's just always like whether I was doing something else or they were doing something else, we always kind of just caught up in the middle. And we weren't able to make any progress. I mean, that being said, I will say, specifically for the early stuff for Starstruck, like the concept art we did of each character, that went pretty smoothly. I literally, my friend Ahmad just recommended an artist named Jess Torres, and she did all of the early concept art and like completely killed it. And I love, I would literally just give her a mood board and be like, okay, well, Harper looks like this or Azrael looks like this, and it's all these vibes and blah 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 blah. And she would just come out with exactly what I was seeing in my head.
Nice.
And yeah, like, and obviously she would have her style to it, which emphasized it so much more, I feel like. But yeah, that part was pretty smooth. That I didn't really have trouble with that, or like there wasn't any like big production to that. Ahmad himself also did some stellar early concept art as well. He also is responsible for all of the Polaroids you see on the Indiegogo page. So he did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he was instrumental in getting this together. Like it just would not have come together without him. Just amazing work on his part. So yeah, I would say like the process of getting kind of everything together, at the start, it was pretty easy. Oh yeah. And then, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you about this. As far as getting voice actors, that was, we had recorded this years ago. I think the last time we talked, we had just finished recording it. So
oh wow.
We were ready to go full on production. And then for whatever reasons, it just didn't really come to fruition, until now. But like, that was another interesting thing where my creative partner and producer and co-writer on this, Dom Farah, who, has been on the internet for years and years and years. He was able to get a couple really cool people for us, just through connections and everything like that. Joey Richter and Lauren Lopez from Star Kid, who have a really, really big fan base. They're mostly musical theater production and musical theater productions, but both of them have done animation stuff. Specifically, I in researching this, I had found out only a couple weeks ago that Joey was, I don't know how familiar you are with Yuasa anime, but or like Ride Your Wave. I don't know if you've heard of that movie.
I haven't actually.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard of Night a Short Walk On Girl, or what else has he done? He did Isaac. Keep Your Hands Off Isaacan.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. It's that director.
Wow.
So he did one called Ride Your Wave, which I really loved. It's a fantasy romantic comedy / drama. I love that, but I only recently found out that Joey was the voice of the main guy in the American dub for that, so that was really cool.
Cool.
I also found out he was on Legend of Korra for an episode, which was awesome. It was just like fun kind of going through their IMDb while we were kind of putting this all together and realizing, oh my gosh, they have so many things that they've done in animation. Lauren was in an indie pilot recently that I'm blanking on the name of, but was really, really popular. It has over like 1 million, 2 million views now. What was it called? The Art of Murder, I think is what it's called. But it's a really good pilot. It's a fantastic pilot, really imaginative, really fun. But Lauren was in that too. So they both have like even though they have this amazing fan base through StarKid, like they've done like animation stuff, which is so perfect for us. And then so Dom got them, and then I was more on casting Harper. I went to my friend Brittany Lauda, who works in anime specifically, as she does voice acting, but she also does recording as well. And she put out a casting call, and we kind of just found Jenny Yokobori, who I mean, since we've done this, has exploded in popularity. I mean,
Yeah.
she had done a couple really cool things before that, but like I think she had just done Hello Kitty when we got her, so she's Kuromi on Hello Kitty. And then she's also Cinnamon Roll, I think, too, for the Sanrio stuff.
Oh,
but
wow.
Also, she's on The Simpsons now, which was like, that was like amazing. She plays comic book guy's wife on The Simpsons.
Nice.
And she's just honestly like such a pleasure to work with, and like completely brought Harper to life. But like, yeah, that was kind of how the kind of getting anything for the recording went through. Like and I'm sorry, I kind of went on like a tangent about each actor, but like it was just really fun.
No
kind
problem.
Of, like,
I was going to ask you about the voice actors anyway.
Yeah, it was just kind of fun going through each of their kind of like IMDb's or resumes and everything, and seeing all of their credits. It was just really cool, honestly. And seeing how kind of like just how much stuff they've worked on. But yeah, like everyone in the cast is really cool, and that process of making this was fairly easy, honestly. It was pretty straightforward in and out.
Great. And we can finally actually transition to our first viewer question. This comes from Nesca. So what sorry. When it comes to Starstruck, what made you go with a female lead?
That's a really good question. I had a friend actually ask me like a couple years ago, like, why do you, specifically in Failing Upward and Starstruck, like, why do you go female leads? And I think it's mostly for me, it's to kind of like avoid just doing another version of myself on screen. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the easy part. Like, I obviously there's things that are very true to me in Harper. But like, I don't know. I feel like if it was just like another guy character, it would just be, I don't know, like it would just be too easy to fall into the pitfalls of kind of like just, you know, making another kind of like self-insert OC. And I did not want to do that at all. Like I just, Cody is enough. Like I don't need another Cody. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason. And also, I don't know, it's just fun. It's like it's just like fun for me to write for a girl. I think it's just cool. Yeah, I don't know, that I know that's kind of like a kind of non-answer, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's just cool.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Like, for my, obviously as a yet unnamed project, my main character, well, actually for the trio of main characters, 2 of them are female, and I have like very similar aspects. Like, while everyone does have like aspects of like my personality tried to spun off into their own individual people, I'm trying to just avoid self-inserting. I think that would broadly limit the appeal. I'll say that much. And when it comes to writing, actually, another transition, what was it like winning Best Comedy Script? Yes, sorry, let me cut that out. What was it like winning Best Comedy Script for Starstruck at LAAF?
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Like, literally, I just did it on once again, one of those like on a whim things where I'm just like, I'll submit this. It'll get in, maybe. But then it got in, and I won Best Comedy, and I was like, It was surreal, like, because like I love that script, but like I don't know, I don't consider myself someone who usually gets awards and stuff like that, so like it was just weird. And there is video of me accepting it, and I, like, even though I had been kind of like told I was gonna get an award, I didn't know what award it was gonna be still. And you can see me, like, I think it was the first or the second of the night, and I was just like completely like shaking. I was just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And it was just weird. It was nice to be, once again, it's like a validation of kind of just like, oh wow, like I wrote something that people really seem to like. But more so, it was just surreal. It was just like, this is really weird. Like, the script I've had for kind of like kicking around for a couple years, finally go into a festival, win something. And like I think I'm trying to think of where to bring this, but like the reason I kind of had a little more faith in it last year specifically was because my a friend of mine, Donnie Mahali, who's a writer on SpongeBob and Glitch Tex and Harvey Beaks. He's done like a ton of stuff. He was my tag, like, kind of mentor. He like looked at my script and everything and thought it was really good, and like 1 or 2 small changes, and I kind of made those and just submitted it like maybe a little bit after, and it just took off and did really well. So
Nice.
I don't know, like, actually I actually have a story about that too. I can tell that story really quick because this relates to you. When I was doing the tag portfolio review, I was like, oh, you have to have an original script and a spec script. So I wrote one for KIF.
Small world.
I know, which I know you work on. And I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I wrote it within like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think I remember you showing it to me, I think.
Yeah, it was the attention detention one, which I wrote from a place of like being a kid with ADHD. So
Yeah.
I was like, this will be fun to kind of, put into something and make something fun out of it. So like I wrote a whole episode of KIF where KIF gets in trouble for not paying attention. And then she kind of has to work with Miss Dear Teacher on doing like being a better, paying attention more. And I had when I did the tag portfolio review, I requested for Donnie to read that, and I got on the call with him and I was like, oh, so what'd you think of my KIF script? And he goes, what's KIF? And I'm like, look, what do you mean what's KIF? It's the script I gave you. It's the spec script. And he was just like, oh no, I read Starstruck. And I was like, oh no. And I because it wasn't that I didn't like the script. It was just so personal to me. And I was just like, oh my God, it's going to get like torn to pieces. And then he was like, this is really good. And I was just like, oh, thank you. That's awesome. So I think, I think that was definitely like a boost to kind of enter it into a festival. And then when it won, I was just like, whoa, okay, so it's like maybe even a little better than I thought, which I didn't even say that. It was just like, I guess it has legs comparatively to what I had originally imagined, because like specifically the script for Starstruck, and just to kind of like let people know, just in case they don't know, the show Starstruck is about a girl from Earth named Harper, and she's the kind of the PA for an alien rock star, and it was very much based on kind of like my experience as a PA in entertainment, and kind of having to do all these crazy things for different people, and
can co-sign on that.
Yeah, I mean, I never had to. Oh, I won't go into what the pilot is quite yet, but like, I never had to do quite what Harper does in this episode. But no, like, it was like a personal thing for me. So like, kind of like, even though it's masked in this like sci-fi comedy aesthetic, it felt very personal. So like, I always felt like, oh man, if somebody like tears this apart and doesn't get it, I'm gonna be like, I'm very fragile. But I feel like kind of seeing the reception to it has made me a little more kind of just open to sharing it, which is kind of why we decided to really do this Indiegogo. Like that was a really big deciding factor, winning that award, to do the Indiegogo instead of continuously trying to pitch it and not really getting the meetings and going in. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen like all the shows that are getting canceled now, and it's just like, it was also specifically, one of the things that we were trying to overcome was like we wanted to pay people fairly, but we knew that like if we did this as an indie project and we wanted a team that was going to get it done really well and do an amazing job, it was going to be a lot of money to do it as a fully fleshed out animation. And so we kind of made the decision to do an animatic instead, and really the thing that pushed us to do that was Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. And because I saw how well that had done, and I was just like, and keeping in mind that the creator had already had a sizable fan base and everything like that, but still, like, I was like, wow, you can just put out like an animatic online and people will respond really well to it. And I had also seen a bunch of other people saying like this should be the direction indie animation is going in, where we put out kind of test reels and animatics to kind of get a vibe for what you're trying to do, and then let the audience give you some feedback on what you can change, what you can kind of bring to the to the table. So those two things are really big. And then of course I had also remembered Becky Prim was like a thing, so like, and that has its own big fan base too. So like those two in particular were very, very important to me in terms of kind of like making the decision to do this as an animatic, and then winning that award I was like, all right, I guess we should do this. So to sum it up, I was just like, I would say winning the award actually pushed us into doing the Indiegogo.
And yeah, honestly, I don't know. I'm at a loss of words, but like all the decisions that you made, like make complete logical sense, And shout out for like the flashback, honestly, because I haven't thought of Becky Prim since high school, but I never forgot it. So
well,
yeah.
Carl is just like crazy. Like I think that is one of the most like original, weirdest like pilot episodes I've ever seen of anything. So I was just like,
yeah,
wow, like there really just is room for anything, and it can get an audience. It can get, it can get a following. So like, absolutely, like a big influence on me in terms of just like wanting to do this as an animatic. And it's just like, it's just financially reasonable too, specifically for, smaller fan bases of things to kind of like pitch in and make something happen through crowdfunding.
Yeah, it definitely like lowers the bar. And it's like, right. So there's been a little bit of discussion in like some of the like indie animation space I've like observed. And I think it comes from probably smaller and maybe less experienced people with like art or production in general, admittedly feeling like a little bit more intimidated, like not just seeing the success of projects like Digital Circus, Has Been, etc., but like the level of polish, and I'm glad those exist. I was watching the latest Digital Circus a couple of days ago myself, but I do agree on the notion that hopefully, animatics being more popular will not only help like lower the bar, but it also, speaking as someone who like is a PA for a show that's on like network television, having that like real-time feedback, I do feel was like a legitimate sort of advantage, at least like as soon as it goes up. Well, I guess, well, it's like, obviously you're not going to have like fans commenting on like an animatic for an in production like major television show.
Yeah.
But I feel like, just having, because the people who are going to seek this out are fans of animation. So I feel like for people, including people like me when I was in high school, getting to see like a little bit of like how everything is made, it's just like a really big advantage. So I do hope, like there can be both, the whole two cakes syndrome.
Yeah,
sure.
What
I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is like a double-edged sword in that, like, you are, especially, it's interesting that you bring up like Digital Circus and Hell of a Boss and stuff like that, because I feel like because they are so polished that there is kind of like an expectation for indie animation to be like that. And, I think of, I think Aaron Long was talking about this, or has talked about this a couple times, where it's just like, we can't treat this like an industry. Like, this is very much just people in their basements putting out things into the wild and seeing if they stick. So, while this is a pilot for a longer series, like, I really wanted it to work as a self-contained short first and foremost.
Right.
I think, and obviously, like, that's the one kind of tough thing for people to get through with kind of indie animation, those high expectations. But, the other thing is, I think, most animation fans just want to see, how the sausage is made, basically, right? Like, you want to see, like, how everything kind of comes together, like, most of us are just kind of like big nerds who grew up watching all those like behind the scenes Disney and DreamWorks featurettes about how they made stuff. And I mean, I can tell you specifically, like, this is a really niche poll, but like, I had the DVD for Titan AE, which is it's a sci-fi movie from the early 2000s, Don Bluth's last feature film. And I would just watch those special features all the time, how they did the 2D animation, how they incorporated the dredge, like the 3D villains into it, how they did the sound for it and everything. And I think giving people a look kind of at an earlier incarnation of something is only beneficial on a user uploaded platform like YouTube. And I've seen arguments being like, oh, why would you do that? Because like now, like there's no anticipation for the actual thing because you've just given away the whole story, and it's just like, well, no, I think it's just cool. I think and the animatic isn't gonna wholly represent everything that you're gonna see in the final version. There's gonna be colors. There's gonna be maybe a little more action. Maybe something will be a little different from board to final animation. Like, and I'm sure as a PA you've dealt with that where you've seen things change from storyboards to animatics to animation. So like
yes.
I think it's just like I want to share the process with people. And kind of show them like, hey, this is what we do, and like this is this thing we've done. It's kind of a bigger thing, so we're doing it as an animatic first, and if it catches on, we'll do a little bit more. So I think it's just a great idea. Honestly, I think more people should embrace it. I think I don't know. I really like it. I think it's a wonderful kind of way to go about this thing, especially with everybody not being in the best financial place right now. So so like I just think it's great. I will take it warts and all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and especially regarding not only the current financial climate but the current animation climate. I feel like there's more of an incentive, I feel, where it's like someone will donate directly to a project, like i.e. yours, and they know exactly what they're going to get. Meanwhile, we have a lot of situations where even shows that are success, like even with the demographic, they could just get canceled or not get the chance at a reboot that they want, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for everyone, viewer, creator, whatever. So I'm all for just having more animated work exist, because we obviously do have people who are still talented and still have the vision, but I'm all for this movement just letting people take matters into their own hands, for a lack of better expression.
Yeah, no, I think I think we have that privilege as like people that work in this smaller scene right now, and we should be able to kind of show fans how we're working on something, what we're doing. Not everything is under lock and key. And listen, like there are things that I'm very perfectionist about that I don't necessarily want to show off early, but I think specifically in this scenario with Starstruck, with it being a bigger production, I think it would only help us to kind of put out a taste of what we're doing. And like we really want to show it off to people. We think we're going to have a lot of people who really dig it, so why hold back?
Yeah, and I'm definitely excited for it as well. And let's see. Oh, another question from Nesca. What has been the best experience with your whole endeavor when it comes to the production of Starstruck?
Finding people who really like it has been really fun. I think, and I know that sounds kind of like, oh wow, you're really kind of patting yourself on the back, but it's true. I think finding people with a very similar vibe to you is the best thing about being part of a creative team. And seeing whether it was kind of working with Jess early on, whether it was kind of having Dom put time and effort into the script, which he really loved, or Ahmad helping out with everything he's done so far, like and now with the crew who just like really fell in love with the script, which is like, once again, like it means a lot to find like-minded people in this field, because I feel like you can kind of get run down trying to get your ideas out there, especially with how the algorithm works and how hard it is to actually get something made. So having a project where I could take the time to explain stuff to people and have them be like, oh, I really like that, how about this, we did this and this and this, and sharing ideas, that really I should pinpoint specifically, like the kind of sharing of ideas has been like a real thing that I loved about this. The kind of collaboration has been a lot of fun. and that comes from that like-mindedness of just being like, what's going to look the coolest, what's going to be the most fun. So yeah, I think just collaboration has been my favorite thing here.
Nice. And just to segue to another Nesca question.
Thank you, Nesca, for asking so many questions.
So, if Starstruck were to be picked up or funded, what is a plot point that you are willing to tease to fans?
Oh yeah, I wanted because there's a character we mentioned in the Indiegogo named Chrysalid, who's kind of like this like crazy like fangirl, and I want to do so much fun stuff with her, because she is kind of like chaotic and really fun to work with, in terms of like fun weird plot points. So like one episode she might be an antagonist, another episode she might be helping everybody. So like that's going to be really fun to have that dynamic thrown in, and I will kind of like talk about that a little bit. I just did, but like that's what I wanted to talk about, like that character, because like I think the one thing that, you know, I wish I could have done more in the pilot is put more Chrysalid in, because she only has like 1 or 2 lines in the pilot. So like I was like, oh man, I want to do it more with her. And then she's voiced by Heather Kipp, who is just so nice, and has been her and her partner Vivi have been like so amazing, helping us get the word out about this and everything, and reaching different people. There was somebody who reblogged us, or not reblogged us, like shared a story we put up, who I was a really big fan of. Her name is Aisha Ray. She has a YouTube channel that's like amazing. Just really,
oh wow,
like vlog videos that are amazing. And she works in animation too. She works on in Animate Insanity right now. I think that's the name of the show. I apologize if I got that wrong, but
yeah, it looks like
yeah. So, and you know, she's done a bunch of other stuff, but like seeing like her retweet that, I was like, oh my god, that's really cool. And then I was like, did she just like share the story? I'm like such a big fan of hers, and you know, we kind of went back and forth about it, and that was just really cool, and that was because of them, because they had known her. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, like so that was really cool, and you know, I know who else has kind of come up, like Charlie P. Gavin has been helping us too.
Yeah.
Nice. Like, so, like, I guess, yeah, also just, like, meeting people, like, that, once again, like, the like-mindedness of, like, this is a cool project, like, I want to help out, like, has been really fun. Yeah. I know that the question was about the plot point, but yeah, more Chrysalid. Yeah, more Chrysalid.
And just to combine the last 2 viewer questions we have, one from Iris, the other anonymous.
Yes.
So will there be fully musical episodes or just songs in general?
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely going to be songs. We are working with a wonderful composer named Michael Drew. Hang on. Yeah. Sorry. Hang on. Let me restart what I was just saying. I apologize. You can edit this, I'm sure. But
yeah, sure.
We're working with a wonderful composer named Michael Drew. And he has so many cool ideas for not only the kind of score, but the songs we're going to go back and forth on. When we had done our kind of like first meeting, like those meetings were typically a half hour, and then I'd wrap them up. That went on for like an hour and a half, I think. So like, cause we were just going on and on about like composers we both loved and kind of the vibe of the show. And like, he was like, yeah, he's like, I want to mix like what like Nigel Godrich did on Scott Pilgrim with like what Brad Barrick did on Gravity Falls. And I was like, yeah, no, that's it. That's the sound. Like, so like he totally got it. So totally songs. And you know, like in terms of the songs, I mean, like obviously I'm working with Michael and we're going to definitely put out some songs, but, I mean, like, I would also just love to work with, like, bands, too. Like, I love so many different bands, and if it ever got to a point where, like, we could get some of those people doing stuff. And, you know, I actually don't want to snub. If you've watched the Indiegogo video as well as some of the other promo stuff we put out, you'll hear, like, a little instrumental that my friend Matthew Pop did. He did the theme song for Failing Upward as well. So he did that music, which is at this point I still think it's going to be the closing theme of the show. So there will definitely be songs. Will there be a musical episode? It's a little. I feel like we have everything for that. For sure, we have two people who just do musicals, like for a day job, pretty much with Joey and Lauren. So yeah, but like I would definitely want it to be a little more abstract-y rock opera-y than a full-on musical. There's definitely like a difference. So I would want it to be more conceptual. Like if it was going to be a musical episode, it would definitely be more rock opera, more abstract, more conceptual, more so than like a straight-on musical, which I'm sure they would be game for too. But yeah, it's definitely possible. I hope so. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I hope so too, especially coming from a show that, well, basically every like second 11-minute episode does have a song in it.
I know. I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, wow, Kif, pretty much every episode has like a musical number. I think there's like a couple, like maybe a couple without one. I don't know. I need to sit down and catch up, but I was always just like, wow, they're really going full in with like the musical stuff, and I was just genuinely impressed. I was genuinely impressed with like how they were able to incorporate that. It was really cool. When I wrote my spec script, I made sure to like leave a montage space for a musical number. So,
nice.
Yeah, I actually, can I ask that something? I don't know if you can give this away, but I would be very interested to ask you, because I'm sure you see the scripts.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you see the scripts, and then you see the the final product. Are the lyrics to the montage musicals written in the script, or do they come after?
Yeah, at least when I see them, the lyrics are in the script.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome, though. That's so cool.
Yeah, as far as I know, like there are writers that like write the episode, and then commonly it's either the creators, Nick, Lucy, or both, who are writing the songs. So then when I see the script, it just has like all of it,
Yeah, no, that's so cool. Like, because like that's something like, and for Starstruck, it's definitely more of a rock music show. So like they're not straightforward musical numbers. They're usually songs that are gonna be maybe tuned into the plot of what's going on, but they're gonna be more like I don't know. I am more of a fan of just like kind of not cryptic lyrics, but more vague lyrics. I don't always like straightforward lyrics. I mean, I do in general sometimes, but like in terms of what I'm looking for Starstruck, I really want there to be like, this is real music that's coming out. Like that's really what I want. That's really what I want to do. And I feel like, and like as somebody who's listened to the whole KIF soundtrack, I think all the musical numbers are wonderful. But I just feel like if we were to put out a Starstruck soundtrack, it would be just like singles that you would hear from a band or a singer or something like that. They wouldn't necessarily be like in tune with what's going on. As you can tell with like,
you would want them to like
go ahead.
No, sorry to cut you off.
It's all right.
But I guess you would want them to like stand on their own as music instead of just being like defined as like the soundtrack to Starstruck.
Yeah, no,
right?
absolutely. Like I'd want them to be like, you could listen to them without knowing they're from Starstruck.
Right.
In a weird way. I know that's just like I mean, I grew up on I mentioned this last time, but I grew up on soundtracks, and a lot of those soundtracks are more about like vibe. Like they would put bands that fit the vibe of the movie or TV show on the soundtracks. So like I want to go for that for Starstruck. I mean, it's crucial. Like the music in the show is crucial, but like the vibe it's going for is more just like the vibe of the show more so than propelling the plot forward.
Agreed. Yes. And I'm definitely a little bit of a soundtrack aficionado myself. Yeah. I have sang the praise of the Digimon soundtrack for
so good.
Many times.
So good. So good. And like so unexpected, but completely fits that. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know those are three different movies mashed together, but it completely fits that 2K aesthetic of that movie to have all of those huge hits on that soundtrack, whether it was Smash Mouth or Bare Naked Ladies or Less Than Jake or Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Like it completely fit that movie. So like that is a great example of like, even though, you could probably argue with like a hardcore fan of the original Japanese dub that it's like, oh, it doesn't make sense for any of these songs to be here. They don't. It's like, no, it's a tone setter. Like that's why people like it, because it just reminds them of that time and place. So like that's a great example of like a movie I would look to and be like, I love how they use that song there. Does it have anything to do with the scene that's going on? Maybe not, but it fits, and that's why it's good.
And see, that's why I just respect like both versions of those movies.
Yeah.
Like, we actually did have, so me and Artis had actually interviewed Marissa Lenti, who not only did voices but was involved in the production of the new Digimon dubs.
Yes.
That was on like a new Blu-ray from a while ago. And it's so surreal because of the fact that like, because that was like the first time I had like seen like not the first part, the one with Diaboromon.
Yeah.
So like in the Japanese version, it's just a standard opening credit sequence set to the Japanese opening song, but it's like, I don't know how they did it, but the way that they cut it up to Bare Naked Ladies 1 week,
I don't know why that works. It does though.
And it thematically fits because Ty's arguing with Sora, and I don't know what they were doing, but I know there's been like a cultural shift, and honestly, for many valid reasons regarding like English dub practices.
Oh yeah.
But I can never be too mad at stuff like that. I think stuff like that is like an art in of itself.
I'll tell you this.
You don't need it these days, but I respect it so much.
I'll tell you this. I like it better than the first Pokemon movie soundtrack. Which really, I mean, listen, I love that M2M song. That's a fantastic. That was like one of my like during the pandemic, for whatever reason, I got back into that song and it was like on loop. But the Pokemon movie soundtrack really, I think they didn't understand the audience for it, because like it's pop music, but not in the cool alternative way the Digimon movie was pop music, I think. And I think it hasn't aged as well because of that, because all of those songs are way more of that era than and like aged poorly or more poorly because of that than the Digimon stuff, which while you could say like, oh, that's so 1998, it just fit the vibe. But yeah, I don't know. I while I love boy bands and other pop stuff, like the Pokemon movie soundtrack, like it just didn't hit for me. Like I remember trying to force myself to like it, but then I got the Digimon movie one. I'm like, this one's better. Like, but like, I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know. Definitely, I would love to go back and compare the two again, just to see like why one works and why one doesn't. But yeah.
I think to me personally, and nowadays this is seen as like an advantage. But to me personally, I feel the reason that Digimon soundtrack works more is because the soundtrack that they used for the dub already had like some original like hard rocking songs.
I have to go back and watch the original. I have to go back and watch the original now, because like I don't think I've ever watched. Yeah. I don't think I've ever watched those three movies like on their own, because they're OVAs, right? Like they're it's three mini movies, right?
Yeah. I think the second one, Our War Game, is like the longest.
Yeah, and that's done by the guy who did Summer Wars, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Which is because it's the same exact plot, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think once again, maybe I'm coming down a little too hard on Pokemon, but I just think that Digimon movie, I think I was just of that age where I'm just like, it's just cooler. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not, and I love Pokemon. I have such a soft spot for Pokemon. I was just talking last night. I just donated last night to making sure Rachel Lillis, the voice of Misty, got a park bench in New York City. Like, so like it was obviously really important to me, but like
rest in peace.
The Digimon movie was just like, wow, the animation's so weird and so funky and so cool. And the character, yeah, exactly. The character design's such an upgrade from, not upgrade, but like such a cool inversion of what we already knew.
Right.
So like I don't know, it took a lot more chances than the Pokemon movie, I think. And I think that dub just like it really sealed it for me, where it's just like, oh, this is just cooler. This is cooler. It's so much cooler.
Yeah.
And it's
coolness will get you far.
And it stinks that it didn't do that well. I think it did okay in theaters. I think it did fine, but it didn't do Pokemon.
Yeah.
It didn't do Pokemon movie numbers, you know?
Yeah.
So
and
I know this has been a giant
especially in
tangent.
hindsight, like what could? Yeah. No. Like trust me. Like I feel like there's always tangents on this show.
No, I'm always
the
down
last
to talk,
episode.
Yeah, I'm always down to talk different things. But no, I kind of to wrap up that thing about music. I don't know. It's all about vibe to me, and like I just think like, you know, someone like Azriel wouldn't write like a straightforward song about how he's feeling. It would be much more cryptic. It would be much more kind of ambiguous and kind of have, you know, weirder lyrics. And the Harper is like the same kind of way, where it's just like, I think, you know, one of the things they do is they kind of use like music as like both an extension of themselves, but they also try to mask things in it. So I don't know. I think they would. I think all the characters kind of have that vagueness about their lyrics. It's just cool. Like I think they just think it's cool. And I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I like vague and kind of hard to understand lyrics. So yeah, you're gonna have to deal with that. That's kidding. So yeah, I don't know. Just look forward to that, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely looking forward. Like, no, just not only as like someone who's like in this field, but like, you know, also as like a friend. You know, seeing you like get to this point, even the fact that you can say that you are officially an award-winning writer is just huge. So, you know, one creative to another, you know, hugely proud of you and wishing you like all the best for this or any other projects that you got.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I you know, it's been a really crazy kind of like year and a half for me. So like from submitting that script to where we are now, like it's been really crazy. And you know, this Indiegogo has been kind of like, you know, we're very happy with the money we've gotten. We're just hoping we can get past the finish line. And that's kind of like our goal right now is making sure we get the funds for this. And yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, and speaking of goals, my final question, are there any, well, not financial, I should specify, but are there any goals you would like to reach with this project or anything else regarding Wayback Studios as a whole?
That's a really
like milestones.
That's a really good question, because there's a couple of things. Obviously, Starstruck is really important. We hope that we get the funding to do the animatic. We hope that leads into fully doing the episode. There have been other avenues we have potentially looked at for getting Starstruck made, but right now we're focused on the animatic. So that's the milestone right now for that. It's failing upward. We put up a Patreon for Wayback a while ago, and we kind of put it up with the idea of the money going towards specifically doing more episodes, obviously. Right now, I think we're at like $28-30 a month, which is, I mean, it's pretty good. For a channel with like 3,000 subs, it's pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, we want to do more with that show. One of the things that we want to do is, after we have one episode coming out in a couple weeks, we're almost done with it.
Nice.
I just have to lay everything in Premiere and splice it together and put the music in, and then we're pretty much done, and the sound effects. And then once that's done, we'll put that out, and then we have one more episode after that, which I think will come out pretty fast because it's a relatively short episode.
Okay.
But then we wanted to do a holiday special, so that would be like the next big kind of like thing for us, would be to do that, and we're gonna see where we are with the Patreon by the end of this next episode to kind of figure out, you know, what the vibe is on kind of like proceeding with that. But everyone on the crew wants to do this holiday episode. I know that much. Yeah, like, so that's what we're doing. And then, you know, like, if we can do that, hopefully the idea is we keep doing Failing Upward, keep doing Starstruck, and then I would say for like Wayback Studios as a whole, like, I don't know, I right now it is all of my stuff, but I would love to work with other people. It's just, and as you know, it's always like a funding thing. Like we don't necessarily have cash flow to do other people's projects, and nor do we have like the kind of sizable audience that would be like, yeah, like I would totally put this thing I just put my heart and soul onto your channel. Like, but if it comes to a point where these things start taking off and we do better, I would love to work with other people. I would love to kind of be a home to other pieces of animation. It's just kind of, right now we are where we are, and we kind of have like very attainable goals for the future, but then, there obviously I want to do bigger things beyond that.
Yeah. And of course, like, I think it's just great to like have, like smaller and, I wouldn't say unobtainable. I would just say like bigger goals.
Yeah.
But, it's always good to just have like spots to keep moving forward.
Oh, of course.
And look, again, no matter where anything ends up, you've still made like huge, huge steps, in like such like a relatively short amount of time. So again, it's been great catching up.
Oh yeah.
And it's just great to see this, just explode,
Yeah.
And I'm wishing again all the best.
Thank you so much. I wouldn't mind just like plugging really quick. So if
sure.
you would like to donate to Starstruck, you can go to we have links. We'll have a link in the description, of course, but it's Starstruck.
Definitely.
An animatic pilot on Indiegogo. And yeah, I just would really love the support, and we've gotten a bunch of support already, and we hope that continues. And unfortunately, by the time this comes out, probably we'll have done it, but there's going to be a stream this Sunday for kind of fun for promotion fundraising. Me and Dom will be doing a stream together. But yeah, also look out for Starstruck in maybe some videos in the cartoon community. I've talked to some people that might want to put me in, and they've got a pretty big audience, so keep an eye out there too.
Hey, nice. I will definitely do my best regarding editing. No promises.
No, it is totally fine. Like, it's literally just like we're doing it right now, and I probably shouldn't be promoting something for a podcast that'll come out in a week or two, but just in case.
No worries.
But no,
trust me, I will try to like sync it up at the very least.
I will say that there will be more events, so don't worry. We will be doing more events. If you miss out on this one, or if this podcast misses this one, you're totally good. But yeah, just keep
for sure.
I'm posting most of the stuff to my Twitter, Mutant Astronaut, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. Those are the three I've really been using. So Mutant Astronaut on all of those. Wayback Studios, I'm trying to post there as well, but it seems like the ones that are getting the most traction are through my main pages. So keep a lookout for those too.
All right, thank you. And
thank you.
If you want to keep up, no problem. If you are in the audience and want to keep up with me, Blue Sky is currently my main social media. So that is adamlature.com, ADAMLAUTURE. That's also the URL for my current website. Mostly a blog, but I'm trying to develop it more into a little bit of a newsletter at the very least for all my creative projects. If you want to know all my socials, those can be found on a2adam.card.co. I'm currently working on 2 video projects. June is wrapping up, so I kind of doubt I'll be able to get the smaller one done. We are in a heat wave at the moment. But I'll just say this now. So what I've been trying to do for bigger videos is like having like a little like intermission period and just like having like little like mini promo bumps. So yeah, I'll definitely like throw in Starstruck in there, and do anyone else who has like projects that you want to promote.
That's awesome.
I don't have a huge platform. Yeah, no problem.
I think you've. I know you're kind of in the process of reinventing things on your channel, but like, obviously very appreciated no matter where it lands. So thank you so much.
No problem. That's what friends are for. And And yeah, that's basically it. Again, Gary, it's been a pleasure catching up. It's been a pleasure geeking out about Digimon.
Yeah, no, I
obviously.
mean, we could do a whole podcast about that probably. I didn't even go into
we
even
could.
go into the fact that when I started to maybe want to do voice acting, my voice coach was Palmon from Digimon. So like,
wow.
and Gardino. So yeah, maybe we'll have to do a whole podcast about Digimon at some point.
I will definitely make a note of that. I've been trying to toy with the idea of like topic-based episodes as well as like more interviews-focused ones. So yeah, just like keep me posted.
For sure.
I'll definitely be
let's
interested in that.
Let's definitely do a whole Digimon one. I'd be down for that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And with that, I'm calling it here. This has been another episode of the KashCast. I want to thank all of you for listening. I have been Adam.
I've been Gary.
And we will both catch you next time. Remember to stay safe, take care, wear a mask, and remember, love and peace always. Take care, everyone.